The big things always get all the attention. The gleaming skyscrapers, the famous technology, the incredible food. But spend real time in Korea, and you slowly start to notice that the actual magic is hiding somewhere else entirely, down in the small stuff. It is the tiny details, the ones that would never make it into a guidebook, that quietly make daily life here feel smoother, calmer, and more carefully thought through than almost anywhere else on Earth. None of them are remotely impressive on their own. Each is just a small, considerate little choice. But added up, day after day after day, they completely transform what it actually feels like to move through the world. Here are the small Korean details that quietly change absolutely everything. First, the chopsticks and the spoon are metal, and they last a lifetime. Korean tables come set with flat metal chopsticks and a long metal spoon, reusable forever, easy to wash, and gentle on the planet. There is no splintering wood, no endless river of throwaway utensils slowly filling a drawer and a landfill. It is a tiny, almost completely invisible choice, but it quietly reflects a whole underlying attitude. The simple idea that the things you reach for and use every single day are worth making properly, once, and built to genuinely last. Second, there is a hook or a basket for your bag at nearly every seat. Sit down in a Korean cafe or restaurant, and you will almost always find a small hook tucked under the counter or a little basket waiting beside your chair, made specifically for your bag and your coat. Your things stay up off the dirty floor and out of your crowded lap. It is exactly the kind of detail you never consciously notice until it is suddenly missing, and then you feel the small, persistent annoyance of having nowhere at all to set your stuff down while you eat. Third, the floor itself quietly tells you where to stand. On subway platforms, painted markings show you exactly where the doors will open and precisely where to line up, with clear separate lanes for the people getting off. You never have to guess, hover, or jostle for position. Everyone simply follows the lines on the ground, and boarding a busy train becomes a calm, quick, orderly thing instead of a chaotic free-for-all. A little well-placed paint on the floor quietly does the work that loud signs and frustrated, elbowing commuters completely fail to do everywhere else. Fourth, water and tea are free and self-serve in almost every restaurant. Walk into most Korean eateries, and there is a small station with stacked cups and cold water or warm roasted barley tea, completely free to help yourself to, as much as you want, whenever you want. No flagging anyone down, no waiting around, no charge, no bottle you are quietly pressured to buy. The simple, generous assumption that any guest should always be able to get themselves a drink of water turns out to quietly set the welcoming tone for the entire meal that follows. Fifth, the stairs and escalators tell you which side to walk on. Clear arrows and floor markings guide people to keep to one side, so foot traffic flows in two smooth, separate streams instead of constantly colliding head-on in the middle. It seems almost too obvious to even bother painting. But in a dense city where many millions of people are all moving at once, that one small shared agreement about which way to walk quietly prevents 1,000 tiny collisions, bottlenecks, and little frustrations every single hour of every single day. Sixth, you are handed slippers for indoor spaces. Step into a Korean home, and there are slippers already waiting for you, so your feet are never left cold or bare on the floor. Plenty of bathrooms, clinics, and fitting rooms quietly offer them too. It is a small but genuinely warm gesture of hospitality, a quiet way of saying that this space was prepared with you in mind. That little act of trading your outdoor shoes for a pair of soft indoor slippers instantly tells you that you have arrived somewhere clean, cared for, and ready to make you comfortable. Seventh, the bathroom stall has a shelf and a hook. In Korean public restrooms, the individual stalls typically come fitted with a small shelf for your phone or bag and a hook for your coat, so that nothing has to balance precariously on a knee or touch the floor. It is an almost laughably minor thing to even mention. And yet anyone who has ever desperately juggled a heavy bag, a coat, and a phone in a cramped stall with absolutely nowhere to put a single one of them knows, deep in their soul, exactly how much that tiny shelf actually matters. Eighth, the cups are built so they will not spill or burn you. Takeaway drinks come standard with secure, spill-resistant lids and snug insulating sleeves around the hot cups, so your coffee does not scald your hand or slosh out over your bag on a bumpy walk to the office. It is a detail that most people never once consciously register in their lives. But it quietly reflects a baseline of genuine care, an unspoken assumption that the thing being handed to you across the counter should simply work properly, without you having to treat it like a small bomb. Ninth, there is a power outlet right at your cafe table. Korean cafes are largely designed for people who actually intend to settle in and stay a while, so power outlets and charging points are everywhere, built right into or beside the tables. You can work, study, read, or simply relax for hours on end without ever once hunting desperately for a free plug or anxiously rationing your battery. The whole space was clearly built around how real people actually want to use it, rather than around quietly hurrying them back out the door as quickly as humanly possible. 10th, the signs are color-coded and numbered so that anyone can follow them. Subway lines each carry a distinct color and number. The stations themselves are numbered in clean order, and the signage is consistent and clear enough that you can navigate the whole system with real confidence even if you cannot read a single word of Korean. The entire thing was deliberately designed so that being a stranger, a tourist, or simply tired and distracted at the end of a long day is never a disadvantage. Getting hopelessly lost has been made genuinely difficult, and that is very much on purpose. 11th, the seats themselves stay warm through the cold months. On a great many buses and trains, the seats are gently heated all through winter, so lowering yourself onto one on a brutally cold day is a small wave of relief rather than a small jolt of shock. It is precisely the kind of comfort that sounds completely frivolous right up until the moment you experience it for yourself, and then it quietly becomes something you can scarcely believe you ever lived without. A single warm seat genuinely changes the entire emotional weather of a cold, dark commute back home. 12th, the little things tend to arrive before you even think to ask. A cup of water, a wet wipe, a small side dish, a napkin, set down quietly the moment you sit, before you have requested a single thing from anyone. It quietly anticipates what you are going to need next, instead of passively waiting for you to notice and ask. That small, deep habit of getting just slightly ahead of a guest's needs, of preparing for them rather than merely reacting to them, is woven through countless tiny daily moments here, and it adds up to a feeling of being genuinely, thoughtfully looked after. Step back and notice what every one of these details quietly has in common. Not a single one of them is expensive, complicated, or clever in any way that would impress a crowd. A hook, a shelf, a line painted on the floor, a warm seat, a free paper cup of water. On its own, each one is almost nothing at all, barely worth mentioning. But that is precisely why they matter so enormously. Together they prove that the real, felt quality of daily life is not built out of grand gestures or dazzling technology, but out of 1,000 small, considerate choices, repeated everywhere, every day, until the entire world around you simply feels lighter and easier to live in. Korea's quiet lesson is that sweating the small stuff is not fussy or trivial at all. It is, in the end, the whole secret.